Selamat pagi. Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is June 22nd, 2022, and my name is Bruce. And first, what is the weather like today? Well, 9.3 kilometers per hour wind speed. The temperature, 29 degrees, and a little cooler than usual at this time of the day. And humidity, 64%. No rain yesterday, and today it is clear, very, very clear. No clouds in the sky. So a nice day here in Singaraja. Lots of stuff to cover today, and well, I may have to cut out some things just to get this into my 20-minute time limit. And so let's get started with the numbers. The numbers are going up slowly but steadily, and there's some concern from some parts and less concern in others. And so there's some conflicting information coming out, and I'm going to cover that in a segment soon. Let's take a look at the numbers. National new cases, 1,678. We're moving up towards 2,000. That is not good. National recoveries, 677, and national deaths, 5. Bali new cases, up to 65. So we've doubled cases from yesterday. That is not good news, and it's got some people concerned here in Bali, and they're going to have a segment on that. Bali recovery, 17, and Bali deaths, 1. I'm going to talk a little more about the numbers and COVID. I've got a couple of segments coming up, and so let's get off of numbers right now and go into the top two stories, and both have to do with, guess who? Sandiaga Uno, yes. Tourism Minister calls for affordable airfares amid revenge travel. So Pak Sandiaga Uno said that he hopes that the number of commercial flights can be expanded to increase seating capacity, which would help the issue of expensive airfares. He said the more planes, the more seats, the lower the price will be. He said expensive airfare is turning into something crucial. The number of seating capacity must be added to ensure flight tickets remain affordable. Pak Uno's been having discussions with the transportation minister to find a solution to add affordable international and domestic flights that would in turn boost local tourism. Read Bali tourism for 1, but tourism throughout Indonesia for 2. Pak Uno said that the revenge traveling phenomena is happening across the globe as pandemic restrictions are loosened, and this has created a high demand in the transportation sector, but limited supply will eventually increase the price of airfares. And so I've heard about some really crazy airfares going from Asia to the U.S. and the U.S. to Asia. Wow. A friend of mine was going to Korea, and she said the price of airfares is almost triple the last time she took it before the pandemic. So maybe Pak Sandiaga has something there. And Pak Sandiaga expressed his appreciation towards Batik Air, which has introduced the Brisbane Denpasar and Denpasar KL flights. And after getting a go-ahead for restructuring, the problems with Garuda Indonesia may be solved for the short term, and they are expected to increase the number of planes so that it can help bring ticket prices down. Pak Sandiaga concluded, with high aviation fuel prices and flight frequencies that are not yet fully normal, we can respond with air traffic agreements that continue to be innovative, adaptive, and collaborative. And so we'll have to see how the airlines respond to that. Are we going to see more flights here in Indonesia? Are there going to be some new arrangements with international carriers to make it worth their while to add additional flights on to bring more people in? We know that Australians want to come here. What about people from other countries? Okay, let's take a look at the next one, which is about tourism numbers, and of course, Pak Sandiaga Uno again. Bali targets 1.5 million foreign visits during G20. Okay, 1.5 million. So Pak Sandiaga said that Bali is targeting 1.5 million tourists, and the archipelago as a whole is looking at 7 million tourists during the G20 meetings, which will be held in November. So he said the total is probably almost 9 million. What will be increased is the length of time in Bali and the amount of quality spending, right? Because we're expecting high rollers in for the G20 meetings. And if you've been watching this channel, you know how I feel about numbers when government starts spouting them. We'll just have to wait and see. Pak Sandiaga said that the tourism budget, the promotion budget for tourism has been slashed, and so they're getting creative there too and moving towards digital marketing in order to get the word out that Bali is open and that a lot of the restrictions, most of them, have been dumped. And Pak Sandiaga in this meeting reiterated the problem that the numbers are not increasing as rapidly as he would like because of the airlines not having enough flights and prices being too high. But he said, I love this, this condition is not a significant problem because the island of Bali already has its own magical power. So Bali's going to use its magical power to bring people in. Meanwhile, the head representative for Bank of Indonesia for the province of Bali said that the target of 1.5 million tourists coming in during G20 is based on the assumption that there will be flights every day. He said this is a projection. Hopefully it can reach 2 million. Not only Bank Indonesia is projecting, but other agencies as well in Indonesia, and looking forward to 2024 as being the resumption of full-on tourism. So that's another 2 years still. Okay, the government is expecting a lot of people. They're really banking on G20 to bring in numbers of foreigners here to visit Bali and the rest of Indonesia. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I hope so. Okay, let's get back to the virus, to COVID, and see what we've got here. Now, the other day, my last video, there was a report that the health minister expects a spike up to possibly 20,000 because of the new variants. However, Health Ministry has something else to say today. Omicron, BA4, BA5 won't trigger new COVID-19 wave. Health Ministry. Okay, this is a different person. This is not the health minister talking, but this is Ibu Tarmizi, who I've talked about many times. So the health ministry is optimistic that BA4 and BA5 are not going to trigger a new wave. According to Ibu Tarmizi, the bed occupation rate is below 3%. There's no upward trend as in the previous case. Ibu Tarmizi acknowledged that there's a potential for a surge as the number has gone up. The number of new cases have gone up over 1,000 in the last few weeks, in the last week or so. And the government, however, is localizing patients to prevent a spread, and supervision is being carried out on patients showing moderate or severe symptoms at hospitals. She said that the public immunity has reached 98%, but if you've listened to other things that the government said in the last video, said that the subvariants can bypass the immunity that we have from either our vaccinations or from being sick, the natural immunity that we've got from being sick. So I've got the vaccinations and immunity from having COVID, but according to many reports, the new subvariants can bypass it. She continued, the government continues to intensify the testing and surveillance systems. The public must continue to comply with health protocols such as wearing masks. But of course, wearing masks is not mandatory outside anymore unless you are in a crowded place. You're supposed to wear it inside, but there was an interesting photo that was out yesterday, and I don't know what I did with it. A meeting of government ministers here in Bali, and about half the ministers at that meeting were not wearing masks. What does that say? And so, are we going to see a surge? Are we going to see a surge? I don't know. What's the mantra that we have here? We'll just have to wait and see. And one more segment on this, and this is related to Bali and foreigners. Dozens of foreigners are positive for COVID-19 in Bali. The daily numbers in positive cases in Bali has skyrocketed according to this. Well, I mean, it has doubled. The previous number was always below 50, but yesterday, as I said earlier in the video, the number has reached 65, and this includes 17 foreign nationals who were tested positive when they were preparing to leave Indonesia to go home. Foreigners who want to return to their countries take a PCR test. However, they were asymptomatic, so they are isoman. Isoman means they're doing self-isolation. Where are they doing self-isolation? It doesn't say here. So I'm interested in how this is going to work because, of course, the details are not here. So we've got these 7 foreigners. They're going to go home. They test. They can't get on the plane because they're positive. Okay, so they're going to go into self-isolation. Do they go back to their hotel or wherever they were staying? Do they go to a CHSE hotel? Where do they go? Where do they self-isolate? I don't know. That's not clear. If anybody's got an answer to that, please leave a comment. I would like to see it. And so it seems that these foreigners were infected while they were in Bali. So are the numbers higher than we're getting, higher than the 65? Are we going to see cases continue to rise here in Bali? We'll just have to wait and see. And the last video I talked about the drug issue and how Bali is not going to be a safe haven for drug abuse. If you've been following the news, you know that there are several Asian countries that are using medical marijuana, and in the case of Thailand, it's been expanded even farther than that. The head of the National Narcotics Agency, BNN, General Golose, who I talked about the other day, said that Indonesia is firmly against the legalization of marijuana in Indonesia, regardless of what other countries in Asia are doing. He said, we stated together from Bali that we have zero tolerance for narcotics. In Indonesia, there is no discussion of legalizing marijuana. From countries that have legalized it, but there are still many countries that do not legalize it. So we're not going to be led by the countries legalizing it, and taking it that this is a reference directly to Thailand, and I'll talk about Thailand in a minute. But Golose explained that marijuana contains THC and CBD, and these 2 ingredients are very harmful to the body when consumed. Really? He said, how do you feel as a parent if you come home from work and you see your child smoking marijuana? He said the prevalence of using marijuana rose by 0.15% during the pandemic, but that Indonesia is still far below the rest of the world in drug use. And I didn't talk about the drug stories today. More meth being used around Bali and Indonesia. We do have a drug problem here, despite what the good general says. The Narcotics Agency promotes measures such as soft power in terms of eradication, prevention, community empowerment, and rehabilitation programs against narcotic abuse. This is based on the percentage of occupancy rate in Indonesian correctional institutions going up to 70% for drug offenders. So 70% of the people in jail in Indonesia are because of drugs. He said narcotics crimes tend to be related to transnational crimes and organized crime. However, Indonesia is not a place for narcotics production except for marijuana. Really? Well, when was it? A month ago, was talking about meth labs here in Bali. Does he really believe that meth is not being produced in Indonesia with all the meth we have running around here? He said narcotics goods that have entered Indonesia have come from the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle. Let's blame it on other countries. And he reiterated Bali is the island of gods and the island of tolerance, but also the island of zero tolerance for drug abuse. And let's take a quick look at Thailand. I haven't followed this Thailand stories about what exactly is happening there in terms of marijuana. So let's take a look here. As Thailand greenlights cannabis, patients welcome cheaper supplies. So medical marijuana, scientifically proven that medical marijuana works, especially with cancer patients. But, well, Indonesia is not always on science when it comes to drugs. Thailand last week became the first Asian country to legalize the growing and private consumption of marijuana, a move authorities said would boost agriculture by giving farmers a valuable new cash crop. And this also benefits people who are using marijuana, medical marijuana, because it's cutting down on the price. Before, they had to use marijuana that was imported into Thailand, and so prices were expensive. Now that there is a domestic production, the prices of marijuana are dropping. Thailand's relaxation of restrictions has not meant a total free-for-all, according to this article. Last week, new regulations went into effect forbidding public smoking of cannabis, as well as its sale to people under 20, pregnant women, and breastfeeding mothers. So, medical marijuana. Okay, we're not going to get it here in Indonesia. Council accuses government of half-hearted handling of rabies. The Buleng DPRD accused the government of being half-hearted in dealing with rabies. And the council wants the government to take a more serious approach to handling this problem. According to the chairman of Commission 2 of Buleng DPRD, Putu Mangku Budiasa, he said the government has to be more serious, both in upstream and downstream sectors. The upstream sector is a question of dealing with the animals that spread rabies, and the downstream sector is handling health for dog bite victims. Pak Mangku assessed that rabies cases in Buleng had entered an emergency condition. In terms of handling health, he asked the health office to simplify the procedure for residents to get anti-rabies vaccine. He said, don't make the process long and complicated. If someone is bitten, give them the vaccine. And so, not good news here for Buleng with rabies. And I'm going to keep my eye on this story because it's a local one here. And what about the horrific bus accident that happened the other day? Police asked bus company to compensate vehicle damage in Baturiti accident. Tabanan police have named the driver as a suspect in the case. After determining the suspect, the police will also call on the bus company to be responsible for the damage of vehicles in the Baturiti accident. And so what happened, the bus driver experienced brake failure. He was swerving, he was doing a zigzag to try to slow down the bus because he was on a downhill. And he said if he had turned the bus extremely sharply to the right, he would have caused even more damage than what happened. And so he was doing his zigzagging and smashing cars and motorcycles as he went, and unfortunately killing a pedestrian. And of the injured, there were 5 foreigners. 2 of them were seriously injured and have been taken to the hospital and are still there, according to this, and 3 were treated and sent home. The bus driver admitted his mistake, according to this. He said he tried his best to make sure that there were not many casualties. He said that he had checked the brakes and gas and that all technical matters of the vehicle were okay before he started driving. And he said at that time he was driving, he experienced brake failure, and he did the zigzagging, as I said, in order not to hit too many vehicles. Well, he hit plenty as it was. 8 people were injured, and 2 are still being treated, 6 have recovered. And there was another article, and I lost track of it, I didn't save it unfortunately, that said that the children in the bus were being given counseling because of trauma. According to the police, they're estimating the material loss from this at around 300 million rupiahs for all vehicles. Wow, that seems pretty low considering the damage to those vehicles. And the victim who died was buried in Pachung the other day, and the funeral procession involved residents who took the deceased to her final resting place. She was a housewife and a farmer, and she leaves behind 3 children. Wow, tragic. And so just a reminder, again, if you're here, be careful. It doesn't make any difference how good a driver you are. You gotta be defensive. In Bali, the only way you survive is by being a defensive driver. And an update on Buleng's behaving badly. What is happening with the 2 foreigners who were doing it on the beach? Well, still being investigated, a lot of reports, but they all say basically the same thing. The police are trying to ascertain whether or not it was in Pererenan Beach where the incident took place, and who the foreigners were, and who uploaded the video. And the cyber crime unit is on this, trying to ascertain what kind of camera was used to make the video, and they are looking for the person that uploaded this video. He or she is in big trouble if they get caught. And the foreigners, well, not likely that they're going to be caught, because apparently, according to what people say about the video, you could not see their faces. And so it's going to be hard to find out who those people were. And there was another report, and I can't find it now, a Boxo seller who said that it was in fact at that beach, because he said the waves at that time of the day, that time of night, are calm, are always calm. And so he says that it's there, but no official word on that. Well, follow that. You know, these naughty foreigners, if you are here, don't be doing it on the beach in public. Get a room. Okay, that is it for today. If you found this video helpful, useful, informative, scintillating, non-irritating, humorous, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. It helps with it being shared, the YouTube algorithms. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Videos are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Sunday is a cooking video. But as I said, no cooking video this week. We have not been able to do cooking videos for the last few days. Got some problems there. But there will be a walking Singaraja snippets video. Okay, thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe and drive carefully. And I will see you on Friday.